What's going on, people? It's your man, the YB, back once again. Big shout out to my doggy. What doggy is it? Oh, come on, people. Bobby Ross for coming through and boosting up the coin. So, we got some breaking news right now regarding Dillian White. Dillian. Tyson Fury hit me on my head and my ankle got twisted, White. The ankle twister. What's that game where it's like pop it, twist it? Tyson Fury was like pop, twist. No, come on now. Let's get serious. Dillian White's returning. And he will face Ebenezer Teti. Someone told me, they said that this fight should be called White Teeth. White versus Teeth. Come on now. Dillian White will face Ebenezer Teti in a heavyweight clash on December 5th. I don't know what Dillian's on, man. I don't know what Dillian's on. I guess is this meant to be his breakout fight? Let's have a look who this cat is. I mean, obviously it's a bum of the month campaign. I don't know where they find these guys. He looks about six. Oh my, this guy looks 60 years old. This guy is 36. You're bugging. This cat here ain't 36, man. He's closer. He looks like George Foreman now. Let's call a spade here. Let's call a spade. He don't look 36, man. Stop lying. Come on now. This is Luis Ortiz's second cousin, man. We know how old Luis Ortiz is. Documented. He's 65. You tell me. Oh, AB, you're bugging. You tell me if this is a 36-year-old man. That's what you can do. Is that dude 36 to you? No, he is not. He's probably legitimately 56. Why? What's Dillian do? There's so many other fights. You had a stinker with... How many rounds did Dillian have? I guess the argument is, oh, well, I didn't get many rounds against Hammer. So what? You didn't get many rounds against Hammer, so what? You're going to fight this 60-year-old? What is it with these new age guys fighting old people, man? He thought Christian Hammer had 2-3 rounds back in March. I don't know what Dillian's doing. We know Joe Joyce is looking to come back. Yeah? You had a stinker with Hammer. No one's... Even the few rounds you did do is rubbish. So it's like... Either you're finished or you can't get up for it. At this point in time, these type of man, yeah, Dillian White, how old is 36? You need to be walking straight in with a... Listen, Joe Joyce just lost against Chisora. Right? So it's not like it's Joe Joyce at the peak of your career. This is Joe Joyce Chisora to beat, and you're allegedly better than Chisora and knocked Chisora out. A half shot Chisora beat Joe Joyce. So what you should be doing is come back in like February on the... I think Dubois fixing to fight in February. Come back on February on the Saudi card versus Joe Joyce. That would be a great undercard fight. We'd all be tuning in for that. Instead, you just... It's been 2 years, essentially. Since Dillian White had any serious fight, it's been 2 years. You fought Jermaine Franklin in the end of 22. It's now the end of 24, and you're fighting this bum of the months for no reason. It's not like it's not like we're asking you to go in there with Martin Bacoli, for example, or someone who's super dangerous. There's rumours now that Jarrell Miller will be fighting Derek Chisora. So them two, who were arguably in the running for Dillian White at one point, they're out of the mix now. Is Dillian White deluded enough to think, oh, I'll fight Ebenezer Teti and then I'll get the winner of Chisora and Miller? Is he that? I've got Miller winning now. I think Miller's too durable and too much pace. Seeing how gassed Chisora was. Chisora can thud though. He can whack, but I mean, I think Jarrell Miller will walk straight for him, to tell the truth. Does Dillian White think he gets to fight Ebenezer Teti and then go straight in with a Jarrell Miller sweepstakes? No, he does not. Maybe it's Dillian White's plan to... Oh, well, Chisora will lose to Miller and then I'll fight Chisora. But he could just go in there with Joe Joyce, man. If Dillian White's got anything left, he should be able to go straight in with Joe Joyce at this point of his experience, if he's serious. How many more warm-up fights do you want? This is your second one now. And at this point in your career, it's supposed to be... Look at you. So he don't have warm-up fights. Right, he's active. But he don't have warm-up fights after warm-up fights. Or Danny Dubois. And he's young as well, to be fair. Yes, has Danny D fought enough bums in his day? He has. But he was like 25. You're 36. And again, we're not asking you to go in there with the peak of the world and it's really hard. Joe Joyce is washed up at this point, documentedly. In fact, if you get put down by Chisora and you lose to Chisora, who's also washed up, I don't really want to see. I think Jarrell Miller will bash Chisora about, if I'm honest. It's an intriguing fight to some extent, but I think Chisora's finished. I really do. I didn't like, even though he beat Joyce, I didn't like what I saw in there. Joyce is slow as molasses. Finished himself. And Chisora was just, he knocked Joe Joyce down and then went back to the ropes and was just throwing party tricks. He had no cardio. He looked shot to me. He had nothing. He had no consistency about him. He was literally gassed after 2 rounds. And we saw that with Mike Tyson. When you're actually shot, you only have 2 rounds in you. I don't want to watch that for Chisora, to be honest. I think he's done enough. He should really sit down now, but he can't help himself. And the people around him, I'm not someone who comes on here and says, oh, the health. But Chisora didn't look in a good way when he was winning a fight, if that makes sense. Chisora looked like he was losing the fight and going life and death when he was winning. He put Joyce down and then went back to the corner and he's like, come on. And Joyce is slow. Miller's not massively quick, but he's not. Joyce is shot slow. He was never the quickest, but now he's like even slower. You saw him in the interview like, it's not funny, but come on now. So listen. Joe Joyce has given a lot to the game, if that makes sense. Not the most in the game, but Joe Joyce weren't playing around like that. He was trying to make the best fights, and he was trying to fight Usyk at the time. Usyk ducked him. Fact, he just did. I think. Well, now, at the time I'd have told you Joe Joyce would punch Usyk's head in, but obviously Usyk would have slapped Joe Joyce about. Still, Usyk did duck him. That is a documented fact. Usyk said, if I fight Joe Joyce, he's getting a 7% split. That's a duck. We have to be consistent here. So Joyce wanted Usyk, he knocked out Parker, popped Parker's cherry. What was the other thing he did? He did Zhang. No one wanted to fight Zhang. That was a voluntary as well, I believe. All Joe Joyce had to do after beating Parker was sit there and wait for the Usyk. He said, no, I want the best. He went in there with Zhang. Twice. And he paid the price for it, but that's earned something in my opinion. So Turkey says he loves boxing, but he should really come out and say, listen man, Joe hasn't got no Saudi love yet. Pause. Yeah. Joe hasn't sold his light-skinned backside to the Sandy man. That's what he hasn't done yet. But I'd like to see him get put on. I'd like to see him get flown out. Pause. Yeah. Would I like to see Joe Joyce get flown out to Saudi? I would. I think he's earned that now. And this would have been the perfect opportunity. Joyce, and I said it at the time, 3-4 months ago. Yeah, Joyce versus Dillian White should be on the Fury and Usyk undercard. Fact. Nothing more to be said. That undercard's whack. It's like Fury Usyk. Then you got a bunch of up-and-comers. You got Dave Allen versus Johnny Bash. You got Moser Talma versus Dempsey McKean, and I think there's Israel Madrimov versus Sergey Bochuk. It's mid. Now White versus Joyce doesn't have the world champion title contender, but it's got enough clout about it for the UK market at least. What's Joe Joyce? Let's have a look what Joe Joyce. I don't know what Joe Joyce is doing, man. He got beaten. I guess he only fought in July, to be fair. He's knocking on 50 years old, Joe Joyce is, for sure. In boxing years, Joe Joyce is not 40. He's not. He's more close to 50, if we're honest, from what we see. Joe Joyce, box rec. I keep seeing posts from Queensbury saying, yeah, Joyce will return. The Juggernaut returns, but it's one of them. Like, come on. We know Dillian White's been scouting for a fight. I don't know what Frank Warren has against Joe Joyce. He's always seemed to be slighted to me. I guess it's his age, but still, Dillian White's washed up. Joe Joyce is washed up. Get him in there. Turkey come out and put the bag up. The reason Dillian White don't want to fight a proper fight is because he wants to fight for low money and no risk. Tiny money, probably getting paid, 100 grand for this fight? Tops? How much do you think he's getting paid for this, people? In Gibraltar. He's getting paid 100 grand tops. It's not bad work from our perspective, brokies, but still, from his level, it's just like Turkey should have stepped up and said, listen man, I'll pay you man a mil or whatever it is to get in there with Joe Joyce. And Dillian White, if you've got anything left, you got to beat Joe. You've got to. Chisora just did and put him down for the second or third time in his career, or certainly the second man to put Joe Joyce down. So Chisora looked no good in that fight himself. He looked really bad in that fight. It wasn't a positive win from Chisora. He should have been straight in there. Oh, YB, oh, Chisora. The narrative is, oh, well, YB. Joyce lost to Chisora. Who did Ebenezer do? What's he doing? Yeah, he's 56 plus. This guy here is not 36. You can forget about that. That's the truth. He's not 36. He is not. That is not a 36-year-old man, if I've ever seen one. Much closer. Legitimately, that's bullshit. He's much closer to 56. Serious. My dad's 58. He looked just like my dad. He looks just like my dad. And he's 56. I was 58, something like that. This is how he looked. He's not. Come on now. That's not a 36-year-old. Come on. Stop playing. And what's he done? Just fought bums. So and Dubois, who hadn't even met his final form yet, knocked this guy out in round 1. Just stuck its spark on him. So what does Dillian White get from this? I think the scary part of things is Dillian White might go points with this guy. I don't know this guy from Adam, but he might end up going points with this guy. You're better off having a points win or points loss over Joe Joyce than getting a points win over this guy. At least you're in there. You're there then. If you knock Joe Joyce out, you're catapulted. Not catapulted, but you're then certainly in the sweepstakes for Jarrell Miller versus Chisora. After this fight, I don't care what no one says. Chisora might do it because it's a big UK derby. But ultimately, can we say after this win, Dillian White's earned to fight the winner of Jarrell Miller versus Chisora? I guess he'll fight the loser, won't he? But even then, he hasn't really earned to fight the loser of Chisora versus Jarrell Miller, which I would assume to be Chisora. He hasn't even earned it, but the money and the whatnot is what it will come down to. And after Chisora's lost to Miller, which is what I expect, well, my expectation of that, where's Chisora going to go at that point? To Dillian White. And then Dillian White, or maybe Dillian White's doing the AJ play. Oh, just keep fighting bums, yeah. And at some point, if AJ doesn't get the Fury fight, if Fury wins, for example, and doesn't want to fight AJ, or loses and doesn't want to fight AJ, it's going to be Dillian White all day. So is Dillian White saving himself, thinking, oh, I don't want to lose again, because if I do, then I'm out of the AJ sweepstakes. Come on now, get serious. You've been knocked out by Povetkin anyway, so you might as well get in there with Joe Joyce now and stop playing and give the fans what they want. We don't want to see you in there with no more bums, Dillian, at your age. No more bums. Christian Hammer, Ebenezer Tete, and then what these guys do is they sit around. You've been sitting around since March, so they sit around so long, and then they say, "Oh, I've just got to get out now. I've just got." If you'd have had the on it mindset since March, you could have been out in July versus a good fight, right? But they sit around for 9 months and then say, "Oh, I've got to rush. I've got to do a quick one. Got to have another bum in the month." It's on purpose. It's by design they do that. Look at his run. Not a bad run here. Parker, Chisora, Rivas, Whack, Povetkin, Fury, Jermaine Franklin. And he just dropped off bad. It would have been much better to see a Joe Joyce in here. That's what it would have been. But maybe if he beats Ebenezer Tete, he gets the kind of Jared Anderson. That would be... Jared Anderson will beat his ass, I believe. Jared Anderson will beat Dillian White's ass bad, is my expectation. Too young, too fresh. Dillian White would not... I don't believe Dillian White would put the fight up that Jared Anderson did against Bakoli. No. Bakoli would proper punch off Dillian White's head for him. Anyway, let me know your thoughts, people. Smash the like button, subscribe, like off the bell, 100%. There's no doubt about this one, people. Stop it.